Hello, Canada. Welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Lots to go through here today. Trump's presser. It was a long one. I have to say, this is the most transparent leader of any nation I've ever seen before. He has got every reporter in there while he's signing executive orders. Questions being berated at him from one subject to another, back to another, back. And he's on the ball like this. And like I said, he's just, it's flying, it's moving fast. I had to kind of pick the pieces apart that were all pertaining to us. And I'm just going to try and build this and make it hopefully the easiest possible way for you to get the most out of this without having to watch the entire spiel. So let's get on it.
And it'll have to do with incentives, taxes. They'll be coming from all over the world, just like they are with cars, with what we've done with tariffs. And we have at least 7 new major car plants that are going to be starting very shortly because of what we're doing with the tariffs, which will primarily start on April the 2nd. Most of the tariffs go in April the 2nd. Right now we have some temporary ones and small ones on relatively small, although it's a lot of money, having to do with Mexico and Canada. But the predominant tariffs they'll be reciprocal in nature. They'll be going on April the 2nd, so we'll be talking about that. It'll be a big game changer for our country because we've been ripped off by every country in the world. And now whatever they charge us 150, 200%, and we charge them nothing. So whatever they charge us, we're going to charge them. And there'll be no getting out of it. So we look forward to April 2nd. I've been looking forward to that date for a long time. I had it as April 1st, but I didn't want to be hit for April Fool's Day. I'm a very superstitious person. So we made it April 2nd. It probably cost us a lot of money doing that, but it's okay. I feel better about it. And that'll be something very big. But I'd like to ask...
Okay, he's going to go back to the shipbuilder. We're just going to fast forward.
In order to protect American car manufacturers and American farmers, we have 2 modifications to the IEEPA tariffs that have already been announced against Canada and Mexico. This first order relates to Canada. Essentially, what it will allow for is the flow of parts and sub-assembly products into America to allow American car manufacturers to continue building cars. It basically excludes USMCA eligible goods from existing tariffs, and also in order to help our farmers at this crucial time of year, we're going to be reducing the tariff imposed on Canadian potash from 25%.
Now there's a beer cut for you. Potash instead of potash. Yikes.
To 10%. So this is a modification to our tariff regime to protect American car manufacturers and American farmers.
It basically makes it more fair for our car manufacturers during the short-term period before April 2nd. April 2nd is a little bit different. That will be much more significant. But during this interim period between now and April 2nd, this makes it much more favorable for our American car manufacturers. Can you see that, Peter? Look, it's a gentleman. He doesn't have to rush. Okay.
And this is the same just for Mexico, sir, the previous one.
Same thing for Mexico. So
That's
one for
exactly
Canada, one for Mexico.
Yes, sir.
Now, did he say anything about...
They've been in the news lately, haven't they?
Listen to what he says about Mexico.
And I spoke to the president of Mexico, wonderful woman, today, and we helped them out with the problem they were having to do with the tariffs, short-term tariffs. And we had a very good conversation. Also, we discussed drugs, and they've been working much harder lately. Do you notice that? On people coming in and drugs. And we've made tremendous progress on both.
President Trump, what's your thought about why the markets are so spooked? Do you think they don't like the tariffs, or do they not like the uncertainty with some of the changes and the carve-outs?
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Now, through the grapevine, through a bunch of Truth Social, X, all the rest of it, I have been following, and I've been going all the way back. And here's what I found. First of all, everybody knows they despise Trudeau. I've also found they consider a socialist takeover of our country. They're not happy. They despise the Liberal Party, period. Something else I found out, and I said this, in fact, I based my last episode on it. Premier Doug Ford has just brought the sights of the barrel from this administration down on his province and the auto sector. I'm sorry to say it, Ontario, self-inflicted, and you guys voted that guy in again. If he would have had a minority government, he might have actually tapered down a little bit because there would have been some bit of an argument, and you guys really blew it because you had a real conservative party that the reason Doug Ford called it is because he knew that other party had a chance of stealing some seats from him, and maybe even some other people from his party crossing over to him, because the party you got isn't conservative. That's the Liberal Party. Look at him and Trudeau, they're best buds, his minion. Anyways, moving on. This escalated. 2 months ago when he started saying he was going to shut the power off, that's what really started to do it, because now you're talking about people's lives. That you don't want to do, especially to this president. He takes life very seriously. And then, throughout all the rhetoric, they were being patient, but the threads were getting stronger and stronger, and they were pointing out, this Doug Ford's got a big mouth on him. That's not, I didn't think Canadians had acted like that. He's being a real jack. And it kept going. And then Lutnick had a call with him a week ago. And Lutnick told him, because he knows what's going on and he's seeing it in the administration, he was trying to reach out to Doug Ford to say, hey, slow your roll, buddy. Relax. And Dougie lost it again on Lutnick on the phone. Well, I don't think Dougie knew who all was in the room, because from what I pieced together, Trump and 6 other people were in the room listening to that phone call. And that was the final draw. He made a call right after to one of the big 3. He's had several meetings with them since, and the guns are aimed at Ontario because of Dougie and his big mouth. What an idiot. As a Canadian, he totally embarrasses me. Anyways, listen to how Lutnick talks. Listen carefully and tell me, how many times does he say Mexico?
Secretary Lutnick, does the president want a rising stock market? Because we do have stocks 6% off the highs, and confidence is being shaken here a little bit around business. I know you guys wanted lower interest rates, and you're getting that, but kind of for the wrong reasons, because now there's worries about growth and potentially recession because of a trade war.
The president wants American growth and American prosperity. Okay, and the fact that the stock market goes down 0.5% or 1%, it goes up 0.5% or 1%, that is not the driving force of our outcomes. Our outcomes are driven by, we want factory production in America. We want employment to explode in America. We want training for the new AI industrial revolution to happen in America. We're going to bring factories back to America. We're going to rebuild Michigan. We're going to rebuild Ohio. Why do those auto plants go to Canada? Why would we have auto plants go from Michigan to Canada? Why is that in our community's interest? We want to rebuild steel and aluminum. Right. The president is focused on rebuilding America, and you are going to see growth in America. You're going to see an interest rate, when we balance the budget of the United States, you're going to see interest rates drop 1% or more.
Now, that's pretty much all he said in this entire interview about the whole trade and tariff and everything. He talks a little bit more about it, but Canada. The guns are on Canada, people, because you've got loudmouths who are trying to get elected and trying to boast their egos by slandering and coming up with the stupidest things possible. Get real. Anyways, what else I found out that's quite interesting is that obviously they like Western Canada, but it's amazing how they were saying, and this is in threads, holy, I guess when they say Canada, they only mean the people out west. The rest seem to be real assholes. And I even caught a couple compliments, believe it or not, on the Premier of Quebec, where they were like, see, how come that, and they call him Fat F-U-C-K, Doug Ford, that's what they call him, can't be more like his neighbor. I mean, I thought the French were supposed to be ignorant. This is the stuff I'm reading. Good, like Ontario. My heart hurts for you guys. You guys are in for 3.5 years of a nightmare, because this is all going to probably settle down in the next 4 or 5 months, unless another Liberal's elected. If not, then this is going to get really bad, and Canada is going to be flushed down the toilet. And yeah, he's going to crush us. He's going to crush us economically, because they don't want socialists living north of them, which is what they call us down there. This new government, they call it the new socialist government. Like, wake up, Canada. Wake up. I'm going to go back to Trump. Now listen to what he has to say about the stock market.
Well, a lot of them are globalist countries and companies that won't be doing as well because we're taking back things that have been taken from us many years ago. We've been treated very unfairly as a country. We protect everybody. We do everything for all these countries. And a lot of these are globalist in nature. You know, they have, if you're outside of the United States, you know, it's going to be a little bit different. We just weren't treated right. We were ripped off as a country. I've been saying it for a long time. And I did it to a certain extent in the first administration, but with COVID coming in, we had to focus on that toward the end. But we had the greatest economy in history in the first administration, and I think we'll do even better now. But this is something that we have to do. There'll always be a little short-term interruption. I don't think it's going to be big, but the countries and companies that have been ripping us aren't particularly happy with what I'm doing. But the United States will be very happy. And, you know, our farmers are going to be very happy. And again, there'll be disruption. But in the end, I said it before with China, we signed an unbelievable deal with China, $50 billion in purchases, and we're doing great. Biden, however, when he came in, they never enforced that deal. So that's the only thing that basically you have globalist companies that have been ripping us off that won't be able to rip us off any longer. I think that's what the big charge is.
Have you been influenced, some of these exemptions that have been announced and some of these temporary delays, have you been influenced in those decisions because of the market reaction?
Well, there are no delays at all. No, nothing to do with the market. I'm not even looking at the market because long term, the United States will be very strong with what's happening here. Now, these are countries and companies, foreign companies, that have been ripping us off, and no president did anything about it until I came along, and then I did a lot about it. You know, we took in tariffs from China $600 billion. Nobody else took in 10 cents from China. They never did. But when COVID came along, we had to focus on COVID. We did a great job. We got rid of that. We ended up handing over with a market that was higher than it was previous to COVID coming in. But this is very much about companies and countries that have ripped off this country, our beloved USA, and they're not going to be ripping us off anymore. So, you know, I think that has an impact on the market.
Mr. President, sir, this is a.
Now, do you wonder why Carney jumped as fast as he could with Brookfield and moved to the States? Is it starting to sink in now? We're going to keep moving on here.
Influence some of these exemptions that have been announced and some of these temporary delays.
Oh, not this one. This one.
Tariffs, sir, can you walk us through the next steps on this? Steel and aluminum tariffs are due to kick in next week on Canada, Mexico, and every other country. Are those going to be modified as well?
No, those are not modified. Those are happening next week. And the big one will be on April 2nd when reciprocal tariffs. So if India or China or any of the countries that really, India is a very high tariff nation. I'll tell you what's a high tariff nation is Canada. Canada charges us 250% for our milk product and other product, and a tremendous tariff on lumber and things as such. And yet we don't need their lumber. We have more lumber than they do. We don't need Canada's lumber. So what I'm doing is I'll be signing an executive order freeing up our forests so that we're allowed to take down trees and make a lot of money and then reharvest trees. Also, we're cutting fire divides. A fire divide is a 50-yard to 70-yard swath where the trees can't, you know, it's long enough so trees don't burn forever until you can get them out. And those trees can be sold and made a lot of money with. So, but we'll be doing that. We don't need trees from Canada. We don't need cars from Canada. We don't need energy from Canada. We don't need anything from Canada. So where we can be self-sustaining, which is in most things. Look, we have more oil and gas than anybody. Our forests are massive, massive forests. We're just not allowed to use them because of the environmental lunatics that stopped us. So I'm going to be freeing that up very shortly so that we don't have to go to other countries to buy lumber. You know, why should we be buying lumber from other countries, paying tariffs, paying big prices, extraordinary prices, and we have lumber. We have the best lumber. Go ahead.
And this USMCA exemption that you're essentially announcing today for this 1 month?
It's just a modification, short term, because I didn't want to hurt the American. It would have hurt the American car companies if I did that.
Would you consider the same sort of exemption or pause for the auto tariffs you're talking about next month?
We're not looking at that, no.
You're not
No, we're not
considering
looking at
exempting?
that, no. No.
We're holding
Yep.
TPS for the Ukrainians who live here in the
All right, we're gonna just keep going forward here.
Tariffs that you were talking about. I know yesterday you spoke with the big three. Did you tell them that no more exemptions were on the way, and what was the
I
reaction?
told them, that's it. This was a short-term deal.
Okay. The big three, like I said, were notified a week ago. They've already been in talks with them, and of course, with Doug in his big mouth, from the grapevine and all I've been reading with these threads and these comments, they were already pushing. They want 100% made in America. So they were ready to settle for the assembly line. You can piece it together up there, but it has to be made here. So if you're going to actually make the metal ring or a washer, it's got to be made here. Once you're all done with all those nuts and washers and everything, you send that up there. They can build, they can assemble it, and then they can send it back down. But now, from what I've heard and piecing together, because of Dougie's big mouth, they're going to they want it all. They want to start bringing even the little guys back. Now listen to his comment right here about the big three. It's subtle, but it's smooth.
And they came back to me yesterday. They said, could we have some help on the tariffs because of the speed? And I said, look, I'm going to do it, but that's it. Don't come back to me after the April 2nd. I don't want to hear from you after April 2nd. We're not going to be doing it anymore. I want to help them.
What was their response?
They didn't complain, but I helped them short term during the
Response.
They didn't complain, but I helped them.
What was their response?
They didn't complain, but I helped them short term during this short term transition. April 2nd is going to be a very big day for America.
Mr. President, my understanding is that the longstanding U.S. policy is that we do not negotiate with terrorists.
We're going to keep going here. Lots to absorb.
Are you thinking about making any changes to NATO where a NATO country gets attacked but they're not paying enough dues so the United States doesn't defend them?
Well, I've said that to them. I said, if you're not going to pay, we're not going to defend. I said that 7 years ago. And because of that, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, if you're not going to pay your bills, we're not going to defend you. And it also went for the attack. But if they got attacked, they said, well, does that mean you won't defend us? I said, are you current or are you delinquent? They said, if we were delinquent, would you? I said, nope, I would not.
That was Canada, by the way, he's talking about.
And because of that, as you know, hundreds of billions of dollars came into NATO. You wouldn't have NATO right now if I weren't there. And your previous Secretary General has said that. He said he's never seen anything like it. When I came to NATO, when I first had my first meeting, I noticed that people weren't paying their bills at all. And I said I should wait till my second meeting, and I did. And I brought that up. And I said, if you don't pay your bills, we're not going to participate. We're not going to protect you. And when I said that, as soon as I said that, it was amazing how the money came in. The money came in, and now they have money. But even now, it's not enough. It's really not enough. They should be paying more.
Mr. President, question on the investment, sir. You've overseen about $2 trillion worth of domestic private sector investments come in.
He's got a pile of private invest. Like, it's amazing how many companies are going in there They're and he ain't paying for them. In fact, they refer to it lots, like how stupid Trudeau is. You gotta give these guys money to build a plant. And by the way, the Threads, they laugh about the battery facilities and car facilities that were built, especially the 3 different battery outlets. It's all a joke. They're like, we don't want no part of that. Leave them rot. That's a socialist investment. A socialist investment. Think about that comment, Canada. You've got an entire administration voted in with this one of the strongest mandates in American history, and they're looking up here going, a socialist investment. They can keep that. Ontario is going to rot on empty buildings with batteries that you can't even mine your own minerals to put in, because the green policies, the Green New Deal is so left wing. Nothing can get built in this country. We are going to rot if we keep leaving Trudeau in power. And Carney, forget it, man. He's going to be even worse. This administration is going to shut us right in. We're in for a pound of hurt here, people. Canada's screwed. We got to get these governments out. They got to go. They got to go. Let's move on here.
So what are you making of the market sell-off this week?
I think it's globalists that see how rich our country's going to be, and they don't like it. You know, there's a big market out there. But again, they've been ripping off this country for years, and they're going to do great. Everyone's going to do great, but we can't let this continue to happen to America. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country any longer. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
So, piece together what you want. It had nothing to do with Trudeau. Mexico talked their way, negotiated their way, and believe it or not, it's not just the tariffs that were relieved the same as Canada. They actually been making other little deals on the side that he said he's going to be talking about in the next week or so. That's coming up. That's not Canada. That's Mexico only. And as for Mexico, did you hear Lutnick or anybody talk about them? Not at all. The entire focus, because of blabbermouth Dougie, has got them focused on Ontario. I feel so sorry for Ontario. And the worst part is there's so many Canadians out there that they have either they don't have the means to get away from the propaganda machine, or they're so busy, I guess, that they just don't have time to look into the news and the importance of what's going on. I don't understand. But that's the demise. The propaganda and Trudeau and his minion, the fake conservative who's actually a liberal, Dougie Ford. The guy who doesn't have... His brother Rob had more morals and dignity in his pinky than Doug's got in his entire body. He's an embarrassment. Every day he talks, I just put my head down. It's so shameful as a Canadian. He's just completely un-Canadian. But thank you to the Western provinces for keeping some respect on what's going on. And I never thought I'd say it, but the Quebec's premier, he did a great job. In fact, personally, I don't really care. Quebec, their government is so far gone. They suck Canada dry. I don't have a lot of respect. I know a lot of people from Quebec. I respect all of the ones that I do know. But when I was out working back and forth, I met more idiots out there. And I shouldn't say idiots. They're just propaganda. They live in their own world. They live in their own world. They've got all their own media. Everything they hear is completely contrary. CBC says one thing there, says something completely different in English in a different province. So I can't really blame the people. I got to blame it's the government and the propaganda. But hey, at least your premier did you guys good out in Quebec. So the focus isn't on you at all. You guys should be okay. Other than the milk industry, which I'm against anyways. I want the cartel gone. I want it gone. Gone. I want to be able to buy milk from my neighbor without having to worry about getting charged. I would love to be able to actually have my own cow and sell milk, because I can't drink all the milk it would produce. I want to make cheese, and instead I've got to find someone else to buy it illegally off of, because I live in a socialist government. So I'm pretty happy about the milk thing. I hope that comes through and that cartel gets completely wiped off the face of Canada. Gone. As well as the Liberal Party. And I'm just got to say, I'm really sorry to Ontario that your premier's really done you in. It's really too bad. The Motor City made a comeback. I haven't heard that term in 30 years, maybe a song here and there. It's viral with the administration and a lot of the stuff going on in the States. They're sweeping the floors off in the Ford factories, cleaning up the burnt embers and getting ready to build. All that, they're gunning for you now because, I mean, you threaten to shut somebody's power off and freeze people out, you're an idiot. That's national security. That's an act of war as far as I'm concerned. And as far as Trump's concerned, that's an act of war. So they're actually being really polite right now. But if you've ever, well, most of you probably haven't read it, but if you read The Art of the Deal, it's like cards. He's not going to give his cards away. And as far as he's concerned, we have the Joker for a leader. So it really is sad. I am going to show you something. Actually, while I was watching, this is crazy. In the last 45 minutes, this went from $100 billion to $105 billion. This is the Doge live tracker. $105 billion is what they've saved. It's a ticker and it just keeps going. The last time I had it on my show, it was 55 billion. I believe that was 7 days ago. So this is what we need here. We need this here really, really badly. But anyways, you guys, I am going to call that an episode. I hope I kept you informed and broke that down enough for you. Once again, my heart hurts for all of you in Ontario who have to suffer with a leader that blasphemous and ignorant and belligerent. It's really sad. It really is sad. And thanks to Daniel Smith, definitely. She should be the Prime Minister of this country. She's amazing. And Mo. I'm not a big fan of Mo, but Mo, you pulled it through. You done Western Canada well. And as for Canoe, they kind of mocked a little bit about Canoe. He's not really talked about, but I think they actually got a kick out of him pretending he was Trump. And but the liquor thing off the shelves instead of tariffing, you guys are idiots. Yeah. And I think Saskatchewan and Alberta did it too, so they're falling in line and they're going to end up losing a lot of respect from this administration and Americans. I mean, it's just ignorant. And it's socialist. You're stopping Canadians from being able to buy a product from a country that doesn't have slaves, not like China. And yet Chinese liquor is still out there. You can get sake and you can get whatever, right? So, I don't know. That's my way of looking at it. But anyways, you guys, you've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And if you are, punch that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. And until next time, I'm Alias to Guy. Stay informed.